the three key messages that are sort of coming out, which is a psychologically safe workforce and psychologically safe leaders tend to engender very, very positive behaviours, both themselves and the organisations. We would always say it's probably a really bad analogy at present, but unsafety is viral. If individuals, especially in senior positions, are feeling unsafe, they will spread that through their behaviour or their lack of support, micromanagement, control. And one of the tools that we particularly like that is looking at the work about Bob Anderson and the Leadership Circle. And a lot of this is about what they would say is below the line, above the line, looking at the reactive, fear-driven behaviours, moving up into the more creative. So feeling safe, we would say, is paramount. And that is probably one of the key roles of any leader in this current environment, is to help other people to feel safe. The second message we'd probably say is we need to look at our relationship with certainty and uncertainty, and whether in fact and how that is triggering. And again, if this was a longer session, we've got some more work to share on that, which is, let's say the limbic system will respond to an immediate fear-based response. The anxiety will then kick in terms of anticipation of future. Both of those are playing out in the context of engendering psychological safety. So we need to probably understand our relationship, both individually and as teams, with uncertainty. And there is a great piece of work that we did with engineers who do destructive testing for a living. They expect and anticipate things to go wrong because that's what they do for a living. So there are some great learns there about how do we embrace with uncertainty, and is it a fear-based response or is it actually triggering signs of anxiety? And the third part of it, we would say, and certainly this is an emergent field, and Taylor, we've just seen some of that work start to come there, which is the whole concept of anti-fragility. So being slightly geek, I'll leave it with, there's some work from Peter Simpson from UWE around something called negative capability, which is just sitting with that tension of uncertainty. And that goes back to a quote from Yeats about how some of the best poems actually came from that uncertain tension. And also, Taleb is an ex-trader, but the work from the engineering, which is how a system will respond and come back stronger if it responds in an appropriate way to stresses. So 3 areas I would leave it with. And one of the things I think also is we've given an example of a leadership program. Many of the people on this call run very sophisticated leadership developments. They've got in-house programs. It's not a question necessarily of saying, well, do you need another program? Do you need another intervention? It may well be looking at the nuancing and the focusing and some of the sort of current learning. So that could be a reblending or even degree of refocusing based on some of the current work. And lastly, I think that was one of the points that was picked up from a couple of the comments, which was, we get this stuff. What about them, the strategic leaders? And as I said, Jan and I had the privilege of working with a global corporate board a few years ago. And the whole concept was, absolutely, but what does it do on the bottom line? What's the impact? And so I think it's all of us being able to learn the language of performance, to have the stats, to have the terminology that says, well, actually, if we do this, it will have that impact potentially on customer experience, on engagement, on creativity and innovation. So I think one of the things is we need the language, and to a certain extent, we need those stats and that data to have those conversations that at a time of change and uncertainty, increasing demand and reducing budgets, it's not a cost to invest, it's an investment, and it will have a return. And that's one of the gifts that potentially we can offer, is the ability for an individual, potentially in HR, L&D, OD role, to be able to have that board-based conversation, which is, this is why we need that level of investment.